I think all of you know that we are in real trouble, not just in BC, but across the planet. We've become a culture that lives beyond our means in virtually every aspect of our lives. Economically, environmentally and ecologically, culturally, spiritually, and socially. Our natural and social wealth is rapidly depleting, and this means that there will come a time where we have to do things differently. And no other party has a plan for what to do at that point in time because they don't believe it will happen. At the provincial level, we have seen successive governments put us in a particularly precarious position by expanding debt. They've avoided ensuring that we have adequate taxes and revenues to meet the expenditures that we have. And the cutbacks to our programs and to the gutting of the resource and social ministries are just the most visible signs that we're in real trouble. When the Socreds left office, as Andy said, the provincial debt was $19 billion, which it was shameful in itself, but by the time the Liberals finish in 2013, the provincial debt will be $60 billion. And each of the two governments has added about $20 billion. We pay $7 million a day in interest to service that debt. That's $7 million that's not available for education or for keeping nurses employed or for operating rooms open or for keeping social services in our communities where it's necessary or for supporting our most vulnerable citizens in other ways or for supporting the arts. The Green Party believes that we should use our tax system to create the change that we want to see. We would do so through tax shifting, lowering taxes on those things that create good health and make our communities better and reduce environmental destruction, and putting taxes on those things that make us ill and pollute our environment. So we support carbon taxes and we support consumption taxes because when they're used right, they work. So on a bit of a detour, I want to talk about the HST debate and the initiative. Because we know that consumption taxes are effective and we propose using them, we have chosen not to be involved in the initiative. There's all kinds of other reasons, which we could talk about at the break. One being Bill Vanderzam, but we'll leave that aside. But we know that the HST has been introduced for the wrong reasons, that it is badly planned and poorly implemented. For example, they're going to tax bikes, and they're going to take taxes off gasoline. No logic to that, and it's not an effective consumption tax. We also have reservations about harmonizing the tax with the current Conservative government because we know they don't share our values. However, with the right federal government and the participation of provinces, if you had an HST or a value-added tax and you decided that not taxing bicycles would be a good thing, then it could be done with one decision and it would be the same across Canada. So I recognize that Greens are supporting the initiative. When I was at Earth Day in Victoria, lots of the Greens were signing the initiative paper. And I know that there are some Greens that are campaigning for the initiative, and I'm fine with that. We're a party that accepts and promotes diversity. But the party itself is not opposing publicly the HST. And we're not getting involved in the initiative. Some people have said that that's not smart, that it would be wise to be on the bandwagon. But I think ours is party with integrity, and if I'm going to have to represent the party, I have to be able to do so with integrity. The Green Party is the only party that seems to understand that we must confront several concurrent and increasingly dangerous conditions that will determine our future. We're facing a perfect storm of issues, including climate change, peak oil, the end of easy-to-get cheap oil, peak everything else, our minerals, our grain, annual grain harvests, our water, our fisheries. We also have social inequity and poverty, and the breakdown of community and community structures. We've created an efficient economy that's based on a false premise, and one that's destroying the very life support systems of this planet. The premise is that we can grow indefinitely and that we can do so by using up our non-renewable resources through consumption. And both are untrue. 60 to 70% of our current economy depends on you and me buying stuff continuously. And that means that the stuff breaks and is thrown away. And doing so depletes our resources and creates waste and pollution. More than 90% of what we buy ends up in our landfill within 6 months of purchase. Not purchasing what we don't need and purchasing durable goods that last would save people and businesses a lot of money. But the possibility sends governments into panic. Our trade agreements are designed to force consumption, even though by doing so they lessen our ability to respond to these combined threats. And they send jobs elsewhere, and they lead to business failure. The Green Party proposes a no-growth alternative called a steady-state economy. We think our future lies in recreating regional, self-sufficient economies where our activities are based in interdependencies, kind of an I'll scratch your back if you'll scratch mine mentality. The economic structure would mean adding value to resources and using them within a region. Exchanging goods and services locally. Generating and using energy locally. It would also mean lots of new jobs and lots of new small businesses. It would see a resurgence in traditional jobs in agriculture, which will be, I believe, the fundamental and most important industry of the future, and in fisheries and forestry. It will mean a reinvestment in the local caring economy, education, health, and social services, and accounting for those appropriately, not dismissing them as unimportant, but seeing them as an important part of what we account for in our communities and in our economy. I was once a psychologist in the local Board of Health in Edmonton before we went to the health authority model. And I believe that much has been lost when we moved away from that local provision of health services, and our service is worse and our costs continue to climb. Relocalizing the economies is a change that Greens believe must be the focus of the future. We need fewer lattes and more fine furniture, and fewer developers and more farmers. Greens are not alone in promoting a completely different economic model as a way off our current path. I spoke recently at a Vancouver Degrowth conference, the third of its kind in 2 years. And in Britain there's an emergence of a red Tory movement with its central focus as the empowerment of local communities. There's also lots of work going on in civil society. We see the transition town movements and the slow movement, where it promotes people working together at the local level, essentially bypassing government, because the government is an impediment to change. And then at the point in time where they have mobilized a community, then they go to the government and invite them to participate.